Welcome to the Aspire Sports Show. I'm your host, Tyler, along with my co-hosts here. We got Ryan, Kyle, and Giggs. You don't see Giggs right now. He's here though. He'll be talking. So
Howdy,
we're going to be
folks.
thanks, kids. So we're going to be talking about week 5. We'll be talking about some pickups, player news, some guys that we're holding, some guys that we might be selling. We're not going to break down each game. We'll kind of talk about some things that was interesting that we thought throughout this past week. And yeah, so let's go ahead and make sure you like, subscribe, share with your friends if you like the content, right? And timestamps will be included in the description below. So with that being said, let's get into the injury news. I'm going to go through this real quick. So the biggest one, Dak Prescott, he had a compound fracture and dislocation, or he dislocated his ankle. Yes. Now I'm going to say not all bad news for Dallas. I mean, obviously it's terrible for Dak, and it's a shame with his contract and everything. It's really unfortunate. But Andy Dalton now, he's not terrible. This isn't the worst case scenario, right? They're not getting Mason Rudolph or Duck Hodges, right? They're getting somebody who's competent. So this is really, in my opinion, the best for Zeke because they're going to just feed Zeke. But for the wide receivers, downgrade him a little bit. We'll kind of talk about it a little bit more. Dalvin Cook, groin injury. Team said that they want to be cautious with it. They have a week 7 bye, so for me, it would make most sense if he misses this week. Keenan Allen hurt his back. Not sure what exactly is going on. Deontay Johnson also hurt his back. Didn't come back in the game. Not sure. DJ Chark, ankle injury. Not sure about that. Something to keep your eye on during the week. Sammy Watkins is going to miss a couple of games. Good for Mecole Hardman. And Baker hurt his ribs. He still played through it, but something to keep your eyes on. He'll probably play, but how effective is? Yeah, we'll see. And then Kyle Allen hurt his shoulder. Ron Rivera did say he'll be the starter as long as he's healthy. So we'll see who starts for Washington football team if you're interested in starting a quarterback. And let's get into our next segment here, the waiver wire pickups of the week. So these are going to be guys who are owned. This is based upon Yahoo. I'm trying to go like under 50%. Some of these guys will be over, but it's just if they're there, get them. Damian Harris, right now, he's 53%. He's the lead back in this backfield. Is lone. Well, I shouldn't say lead back. He's their between the tackles guy and guy who's going to get work down the red zone. If he's there, add him. Chase Edmonds, if he's there, add him. He's 64%. Should be probably higher to like 80, 90% right now. He's the 1B, I guess, if you want to say B, like 1A, little a, he's right there. It's closing the gap. Mike Williams, although he did get hurt, something to monitor throughout because I don't think it was too serious, but we'll see. Adam, depending on how long Keenan Allen's out for. Justin Jackson, he looked really good. He's at 44% owned. If he's there, go grab him. Alexander Madison, if he's there, you're probably going to get a week. And he's also like a premier handcuff, needs to be rostered. He's only rostered in 41% of leagues. T. Higgins, we'll talk about him later. 53% of leagues needs to be higher. Fulgham, 3%. After this week, needs to be owned. Mecole Hardman, Sammy Watkins is out, needs to be owned, 40%. Chase Claypool, 17%, which is actually pretty high, surprisingly. When I looked at it, I was like 17%. But it needs to be owned. We'll talk a little bit more about how much. Preston Williams, 22%, 4 catches on 5 targets for 104 yards, torn ACL last year. A little bit longer to get back into the groove of things. Maybe this is the week that he kind of gets there. Love the talent. And then Shenault, right now 34%, best game, 8 targets, 7 catches for 79 yards last week. And I don't know how long DJ Chark's going to be out. I know he's kind of questionable coming into this game and left the game early. So that being said, we're going to get into our next segment here. Well, does anybody want to add anything to that? Any other people that you think needs to be picked up throughout the week?
No, Ty, I think you nailed it, dude.
I stuck the landing, didn't I? All right, so let's just go into our jumper and dumper. Now, these are guys that maybe you were already on the bandwagon, but you're definitely jumping on the bandwagon after this week. And then you're dumping these fools. Like, people, it's not looking good, right? You know some of these people. It's just they had a good week. Now maybe it's the time to try to sell them. So, but these are going to be the people we're going to talk about. So I've talked a lot here. I want to pass it off to Ryan. So let's go ahead with the first person you're jumping on the bandwagon with, or staying if you're already on the bandwagon.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Fulham from the Eagles. Travis Fulham, a really good game against the Steelers this week. He actually had a pretty decent game last week as well, and that was his first week active with the Eagles. There's a bunch of stats on Eagles Twitter that just kind of go back. I mean, has more yards in the last 2 games than the Eagles' second round draft pick last year, JJ Arcega-Whiteside career stats. He has more yards in the last 2 weeks than like Deshaun Jackson since they signed him last year. So I don't see this as him just playing because of the injuries at wide receiver. I think he's going to continue to get time even as these guys come back healthy within the next couple of weeks.
I agree. I think he's somebody that needs to be picked up. Let's kick it over to Kyle. Who's your jumper this week?
I had to pick him. I think it's kind of probably pretty obvious for some people, but Jamison Crowder, even with Joe Flacco, Mr. Check Priest. I don't think he's going to see a dip in production, and he hasn't so far. He's still averaging 11 targets, 7 receptions, 111 yards per game, 15.2 yards per reception, and he has 2 TDs, and that's 22 fantasy points per game, 22 and a half. So as long as he's averaging that, obviously it's a no-brainer. I just think some people are probably a little concerned with, Darnold being injured. But if Darnold comes back and he's healthy and they're both healthy, there's a lot of upside to that. But even if he doesn't, he is on the there's a lot of rumor mill, trade rumors. So you don't really know what Darnold's future in New York's going to be. So James Morgan might see him. Who knows? And I still like Crowder even if he's playing.
All right. Giggs, let's go to yours.
Yeah, my jumper would have to be T. Higgins, especially after AJ Green getting the hamstring injury. First 4 weeks, AJ Green had, I believe, over 30, 35 targets. So those are going to have to be spread around. And Joe Burrow seems to have good chemistry with Higgins. And I believe he's got a pretty good floor this year. I was looking at his fantasy points. He had 5 against Cleveland, 18.5 against Philly, 11 against Jacksonville, 8.2 against Baltimore. So I think he has a safe floor. He's locked in as a wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4. So if he's available, I'd go get him because I think he's got, Washington, Giants, Miami, and Oakland after the bye. That's week 11, 12, 13, and 14. So I think he could be a great play down the stretch.
Agreed. I think he's a must-add, like we talked about. Yes, somebody that I agree with. And let's go ahead and get into mine here. So mine, I'm going to ask all of you this. Who was the number 2 Pro Football Focus rusher last year? Who do you think it was? One guess. Come on, somebody, go.
Wait,
Edmonds.
Would you ask?
Number 2 rated running back by Pro Football Focus last year.
Chase Edmonds. I'm going deep.
Chase Edmonds. All right, too much time. Justin Jackson. Justin Jackson last year.
That's interesting.
Number 2. Last year, I loved him. Anthony Lynn actually loved him last year as well. Loved him. Just didn't get that much time because you got, Melvin Gordon there. And this year had an injury at the beginning of camp. Didn't play week 1, I believe, because he was hurt. Now he's healthy. Tonight, in my eyes, he passed the eye test. He looked like the best running back on this team other than Austin Eckler. But Austin Eckler is we don't know how long he's actually going to be out for. So Justin Jackson, for me, I'm hopping on the train. I've been on the train. Well, I mean, I like Josh Kelly because it seemed like they were using him more, but this tonight proved it that, yes, he's the guy going forward. So he's my guy. Let's go ahead into our dumper section here. So these are the people that it's just not working out. I'm sorry, I got to quit you. But Ryan, let's go ahead. Yours. Who's yours?
I guess mine's not necessarily obviously like a drop type guy, so I probably picked a bad one here, but
Okay. Not drop.
Yeah,
I don't want to say drop, but somebody that
okay.
If you can try to sell, you're selling.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with what I said last week with Amari Cooper. He didn't anticipate an injury coming to Dak Prescott. But even before that, the matchups so far this year for the Cowboys and the passing attack were kind of ideal as far as how that goes. And then obviously with Dalton taking over, the only one that's really, I would say stock up on that is Zeke, and all the wide receivers I would say probably get a little bit of a downtick, but for sure on Cooper, once his stats from Sunday were bad, and I don't know if that's just with Dalton, but I'm still selling on Cooper.
Okay, let's go ahead, Kyle. Who's yours?
Kenyon Drake, which another one I feel like is probably obvious at this point. Here's what I suggest for people who own Kenyon Drake. Okay, you go talk to Edgar in Human Resources. You say, hey Edgar, let's go to Wendy's for lunch today. You buy me a salad. I'll give you Kenyon Drake, and then you say, hey, I'll throw in AJ Green for a bowl of chili. Okay, I feel like that's a pretty good trade at this point. They both offer you nothing, and I mean I'll just prove it. He's averaging 3.6 yards right now per carry, and he has less than 10 fantasy points per game. And he's coming off arguably his worst 2 games of the season. And just in comparison, you talked about Edmonds. I mean, Edmonds, he had 3 carries, averaged 12 yards, and he has one more touchdown than Kenyon Drake. But here's the fun fact, and the last thing I'll say, which kind of puts into perspective. He has 1.6 more fantasy points right now than Nyheim Hines, who's been on my bench for 5 weeks. So it's just like, at this point, he offers no value, and if he's your starter, you probably should reconsider doing fantasy football too.
Was this after this week though?
What?
That he was.
I'm not
ahead.
entirely, but I mean, regardless if it was or not, I still think he had a terrible
Well,
week this week.
Oh,
I mean, okay.
I think he fell in the end zone.
Yeah, he had a touchdown. It was, I don't know. I'm not gonna say things are looking up, but they're not.
okay.
I think it was like a 3-yard touchdown.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead over to Giggs.
Yeah,
Who's the person you're dumping?
The guy I'd be dumping right now is Tyler Higbee, because his situation is getting kind of interesting. It's a little weird because they're a pretty run heavy team, and we thought Higbee might be the red zone guy next to Cooper Kupp. But if you look at his stats, other than that real big game against Philadelphia where he had like 3 touchdowns, he had like 26 points in that game. His other games, he's had 5, 8, 3.5, and 2.2, and that's in half PPR. And if you look at Everett, he's got 4.4, 5.7, and 12 in the past 3 games. So he's trending up, and Reynolds is kind of emerging as like the 3rd or 4th favorite target. So if I'm a Higbee owner, I'm probably dumping him and looking for a different tight end at this point.
As a Higbee owner, it sucks. And this past week I bet the over. It was like 38.5 receiving yards, and Everett got like 80, so it was pretty disappointing. I was pretty upset. So, yeah, but I'll talk about mine. Oh, and it kills me to say this. I was totally wrong. I tried to make a bold take, and Jerick McKinnon. I don't know what happened with this. He played 92% of the snaps against the Eagles. This week, it's tied in snaps with Jeff Wilson. Why? I don't understand. Like, for me, I thought this would be more of like a 50-50 split when Mostert gets back, and now it looks like he's just 3rd in the order again. To me, it makes no sense. Yes, Mostert looked good, but McKinnon looked good when Mostert was out. So I don't understand. But at this point, you're kind of, it's not looking good. It's definitely not looking good. He's not somebody I would flat out drop because I do think he has value, and maybe this changes going forward, but it's definitely disappointing. So let's go ahead into our next segment here. Buy, sell, or hold. So the first one here, and we'll just start with Ryan, because over here it goes down, so it's easy to look at over here. So we'll start with Ryan. Joe Mixon, what are you doing with him?
I'm buying Joe Mixon. I saw a stat early in the year that he started off last year fantasy-wise really, really poorly as well. I don't know if that's because his schedule got easier. He just kind of works into the offense a little bit. But the Bengals with Burrow under center, I think they've still been getting – I mean, they had a real stinker this week, but I think the Ravens are just that good of a football team. But I'm going to – I guess buying or holding. I mean, depending on which way, but I'm probably buying on Joe Mixon because you can probably get him for pretty, because he really only had that one standout game where he had a ton of, or his value probably went up. So I'm probably buying on Joe Mixon.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's a good play, and he's getting I think he's right. He's second in the league in attempts. So, yeah, a ton of opportunity there that he's getting. So let's go into the next one. Well, yeah, Kyle kind of already talked about this, so I'll talk about this one. Kenyon Drake, for me, sell. He had a good game. It's time to try to sell. And now you maybe don't get pennies. You might get nickels now. So you try to sell him, in my opinion. I'm trying to sell if I have Kenyon Drake. Let's go into the next one. We'll go with Giggs. Todd Gurley. What about you?
I'm going to buy because there's really nothing this team can do with Julio hurt. And Matt Ryan has looked abysmal without Julio. So pretty sure Gurley only had like 10 carries for over 100 yards, something like that, and a touchdown last week. So I'm going to go with Gurley. They have nothing to play for the rest of this year.
Let's go with Kyle. Next one, Zeke.
I'm definitely. I mean, if I have him, you're like hold is I have him. He's on my team.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, of course, I would try to trade for him, but you're not. You're not going to make a trade for Zeke, so of course I'm holding him. I don't see Andy Dalton playing mean anything towards his trajectory. I actually think it should increase the amount of points and the amount of carries he's getting per game. So I'm holding him for sure.
I agree. And I will say this, and now, yes, it might be hard to buy him, but you might have some Zeke owners out there that might be panicking because Dak's gone. So it might be, yes, I think that smart fantasy owners will say this might be better for Zeke, but you'll have some that maybe are like panicking a little bit. So he might be a good buy option. Of course, he's Zeke, first round pick. It's going to be a lot, but could finish his RB number one this year with probably the workload going forward. He's going to be fed the ball. He's going to eat, as he says, Ryan, Akers, Darrell Henderson. Are you buying one, selling one? Who do you want out of this backfield? I'll include Malcolm Brown. Which one do you want?
I don't like any of them because honestly, I feel like they're. I mean, you're going to tell me the difference as far as like carries and snaps and stuff, but is Akers first back, and he's still. I could be wrong, but I thought I saw somewhere on like 14 snaps, something, or 14 carries.
I don't have the exact, but I think he had 9 carries. I could be wrong.
I think it was maybe 14 snaps, but Akers, just because of where he was drafted, and these other guys, Henderson and Brown, have kind of been there and done that and not been successful. I know Henderson had that one game where he kind of blew up, but I'm going to go Akers out of the 3 moving forward.
I agree. Good pick. All right, we'll go to me, the next one, James Robinson. Now, here, James Robinson, I just put him in here because I think that a lot of people still didn't take him serious. Last week, they're like, okay, this guy's pretty good. Now, this week, I feel like people have just been waiting. See, I knew it. This guy's not going to be that good. You know what I mean? Like, people are like, okay, he plays for Jacksonville. He's not going to be that good. If people are thinking that, go and get James Robinson because he is good, right? Last week, it was tough. He should have had a better game than what he did, but he's still going to get the ball. He saw, I believe, right around near 20 touches still. So go and get James Robinson if you have that owner out there that's like, he plays for Jacksonville. I was already worried about this. So, yes. Giggs, let's talk about this one. Julio,
I'm going to sell because, like I said earlier about Todd Gurley, they don't really have anything to play for this season. It's kind of shot, in my opinion. And they're going to just take it easy on him. There's no reason to rush someone who has a hamstring issue, especially if you don't look like you're going to make the playoffs. So I would sell now if you can. Like, if he's playing this week, definitely try to sell him now before he gets shut down or hurt again. But I don't see them rushing him back, and I wouldn't want him on my team.
agreed. And just his name, people will buy his name. So I think you could sell. Now, obviously, maybe not what the investment was, but you could definitely sell. I'll kick it over to, I'm going to save this one for Ryan. We'll go with Kyle, Justin Jefferson.
This week it did make me kind of reconsider my stance on him, but I mean, obviously, if I still have him, I'm holding him for the future. You don't really know the direction that offense is going in, but Adam Thielen is just a magnet on
This
third
week
down.
showed he's the number
Yeah,
one.
it did. I mean,
Like
he's the
100%,
most
no
reliable
question.
third down player probably in the NFL. So there's no question that he's going to get the most targets, but Jefferson still has that splash play potential. So of course I'm going to hold on to him and week to week decide on whether he's going to be my starter or my flex. But also I want to
Agreed.
say about James Robinson. You just mentioned he is was it ninth in fantasy points right now amongst running backs. So yeah, there's no question he is legit.
All right, Ryan, I held this one for you. Cowboys wide receivers, you kind of talked about it. Are you trying to sell all of them, or what are you doing with them if you have
No,
different leagues?
One of them is going to come out of it as the beneficiary of Dalton becoming quarterback. I don't know if anyone can say which one it was. I mean, Gallup seemed to have an uptick in fantasy production once Dalton came in. So I guess he'd be the early vote of someone that's getting an uptick. But Cooper, out of all of them, not the one. I just think that you could get the most if you were to sell him right now, just based off his name, pretty much. So out of the three, I guess maybe the one I would want at his cost of what it would take is probably Gallup, because Gallup's been performed all season up until.
That you would buy? You're saying?
Yeah, out of the three, for the value of it, yeah.
I agree. I agree. Let's go. I'll do this next one. Juju. For me, I would try to sell Juju. Okay. The only reason why I'm trying to sell Juju is that I love Juju. I'm a big Steelers fan. I love him. But this offense right now, he's kind of like this underneath type of guy. He's not going to have these massive games. The only way he's going to have massive games if he's catching touchdowns. I just don't see. I think this offense is just going to be a little bit conservative this year, and they have big play guys on the outside, and I don't see him. You probably could get something for his name too, like a decent amount just because it's Juju, and especially if there's a Steelers fan, you could probably get a lot for just being Juju and a Steelers player. So for me, I don't want him if he's on my team. I have him on one of my teams, and really I just don't want him going forward. Gigs, DJ Moore.
I'm gonna hold if I'm a DJ Moore owner, because I know he hasn't looked great so far, but he's one of those guys who gets it going with big plays, and he finally had one this past week. I believe he had like a 57-yard touchdown in that game against Atlanta. And I think he is the one. The volume's going to be there. He's going to get the targets. Robbie Anderson has emerged as a fantasy star this year, especially with where he was going in drafts. I know he's undrafted in some, but he's going to get the volume. He's a big play kind of guy. So I'm going to hold on to DJ Moore and see where that goes.
Okay. Did anybody talk about Chase Claypool yet?
No.
I haven't. No.
All right. I'll go ahead and we'll go around the horn real quick with this one. Ryan, what are you doing? If you have Chase Claypool right now, what are you doing with him?
Well, obviously it was nice to see his production. But two of those touchdowns two of the touchdowns were, I think all four of us could have scored on. I don't know what happened on the last one with the linebackers sitting on his feet, watch them fly past him. And then the screen play, whatever that was, legit all four of us could have walked in there. But where you drafted him, or if he's a free agent, it's good value, because I don't think anyone knows Deontay Johnson's current status, and it seemed like he started going off a lot more once Deontay Johnson came off the field. But if he's a free agent in your league, I don't know if I'm using a number one. He's not someone I'm overly thrilled to be like, I need to go use my number one waiver claim if I've been holding on to it this many weeks, especially because there's so much stuff going on with the running back position. But if I'm sitting at the back end or in the middle, I'd probably use a waiver claim on him.
I'll go to me next. For me, I'm not a buyer. I mean, I love the kid, and he looks great, like an actual football player, right? But these were 4 touchdowns that maybe he scores one. That last one was just a good check by Ben. He saw it, a linebacker one-on-one. Yes. So for me, I love the kid's talent. Like, he looks like a stud wide receiver, in my opinion. He looks really good, but it's just there's a lot of receivers in this on this team that are good. So my opinion, I'm not. If I have him, and like I kind of said about Juju, if I had him, you got that one Steelers fan in your league that's like, yeah, dude, he's a stud. He's an all-star. You can sell him to that person for something. That's what I would be doing. I'd be, hey, you see that guy? He's pretty good. Oh, dude, you're talking about what do they say? Mapletron? Mapletron, man? Yeah, I'd sell him to that guy. Kyle, what about you?
I mean, I agree with a lot of what you both said, but I mean, I will say there could have been that PI call on him, definitely a little bit fluky, and
Could have
then
had 5.
and it still could have remained 4 though, because he still would
Yeah.
have had, but yeah, and then the 40-yard bomb that he didn't get his foot in, obviously was a good call by the refs. He almost made that play, so
I forgot about that.
I just think as long as Deontay Johnson's out, his targets are going to go up a lot. So I think until then, which could be a while, we don't know yet. He's definitely a nice flex player for a lot of people, but as a starter, yeah, it's depending on who you have, possibly week to week, yeah.
What about you, Giggs?
If you're hurting at wide receiver and it's like a 12 or 14 man league, he definitely should be rostered because he has such big play potential. I mean, he had 4 touchdowns in one game. He probably won't match that the rest of the year. At least I hope he doesn't. But
He said he wants to go
want
for
him.
6 next.
Well, that'd be pretty cool. I should go get him my dad's touchdown league.
Tie the record. Yes.
But no, I mean, he looks like a really good wide receiver. And, I mean, kudos to the Steelers. They always just draft the best wide receivers.
Hey,
But,
I want to say something after that, but go ahead.
yeah, I was just gonna say that it's not that it's so much crowded, but like there's all these mouths they can feed in that offense. And Juju hasn't looked great. Juju should have got way more targets last game, but he just did not have that great of a game. He didn't get open that much, so they leaned on Claypool. And if they're gonna lean on Claypool over Washington, and what's his name's out, the other wide receiver, yes,
Yeah.
as long as he's out, I would want Claypool.
Deontay Johnson.
Yeah.
I want to say something after you just really quick too, Ty.
I just want to say, everybody says, hey, wide receiver Steelers, maybe it's just a quarterback. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's a quarterback who gets them the ball. That's all I'm saying. Go ahead, Kyle.
And I do think something you have to consider too is if teams do look at Claypool as a threat moving forward, they may start, putting their defensive scheme around him or doubling him.
Well, that's kind of what happened.
Which could open. Yeah, exactly. And that's what I mean. And I think that you're going to see, if you start to see more of that, you might see Juju emerge a little bit more. And then teams are going to have to just really respect all those receivers. So any of them week to week could just have a blowout game.
All right. Let's wrap this up. So any final thoughts? Anybody want to go? Final thoughts on Sunday? Maybe a guy that we didn't really talk about. You want to talk about really quick? Anybody?
Yeah, I got one. I want to talk about Antonio Gibson, running back for the Washington football team.
Oh, did I not go to you in that part? I'm sorry.
He switched it.
I didn't,
okay.
I didn't talk about it earlier, but I was going to say that if you've been following Washington football team, the offense is abysmal. It's very hard to watch. I don't think Kyle Allen or Alex Smith, I don't think both of them combined had more than 200 passing yards in that game. And if they can't even move the ball, I want no part of the offense, right? Maybe Scary Terry's the only guy I want in this offense right now. But when it comes to passing downs, I'm seeing J.D. McKissick getting way more passing work, and that's not good if they're playing from behind. So if I have Gibson, I might be looking to sell him right now while he still has a couple touchdowns under his belt. But I don't have much faith with him going forward. I think I touched on it a little bit with Matt Ryan. I don't think he can be trusted as long as Julio's out. He's in the longest drought he's ever had, no passing touchdowns, consecutive drives. He's not looking good. And then San Francisco's defense is another one of those. I know we don't usually talk defenses, but somehow, some way, even with all the injuries before this game against Miami, they've managed to be all right. But they only had one starter in the secondary last game, and that's why they just got absolutely torched. And we already know that they have a couple guys not coming back on the defensive line. So if you've been holding on to him as a defense and you're a guy who's not used to streaming defenses, you might have to get used to that. But those would be the guys I'd want to cover.
Did you say anything about Mike Davis?
No, sir.
Tyler?
No.
Oh, he's another guy that keep your eye on, and he might be another guy who lowers the running back market in the future because they are starting to look like a dime a dozen, especially this year.
Honestly,
He looks really good.
Yeah.
if I had Mike Davis, I think you're going to get one more week of production out of him. I don't think McCaffrey's coming back this week. It's pretty clear in my eyes. But what you might be able to do is trade him to a McCaffrey owner for some value right now while he's still hot. Because if
Agreed.
someone's going to look at him, he still has double-digit points compared to, if he only gets like 6 or 7 next week, he's going to be a harder sell. So I'd sell him high right now to any McCaffrey owner you can find.
If you don't sell him, are you keeping him? Do you think he has value after McCaffrey comes back?
I mean, I don't want to say he has value unless
He's a premier handcuff.
absolutely. He's like an Alexander Madison, Latavius Murray at this point. He's proven that he can put up Christian McCaffrey RB1 numbers in that offense. That's what he just did last week. He's done it 3 weeks in a row. I'd have faith with Davis, but I think once McCaffrey comes in, he's not going to be a guy you want to be playing every week. But if he were to go down again, he's instantly RB1 again. I
think if you can't sell him, you absolutely, in my opinion, hold him because like exactly what you said, he's RB1 material. If something were to happen to Christian McCaffrey again, so yes, in my opinion, I would definitely hold him because he looks good. I think anybody would look good. That offense just looks good. That offense looks really good right now. So yeah.
Good for
Anybody
Teddy
else?
Bridgewater.
Yeah, agreed. Anybody else?
I got one more sneaky one. One more sneaky one, guys. I'll keep it short. Devontae Freeman. I think last week everyone was waiting for that game from Devontae Freeman. It was a juicy matchup against Dallas. And I think they're finally moving away from Gallman and Deion Lewis and trying to let him get familiar with the offense and use him going forward. Another team that really doesn't have anything to play for this season other than getting some experience under Jones and other young players' belts. So look
what
for
a letdown.
And if he's still out there, I think he could be a good RB2-3 going forward.
And a surprise has been Todd Gurley. He's been a surprise while we're on that running back topic.
What a letdown Jones was too. That was such a pathetic performance. Come on, man. Anyways, that about does it. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, hit that like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and we'll be back. We'll do some videos throughout the week. Keep posted. Turn on that bell. That way you get notified when we post a video.
And follow us on Twitter.
Follow us on Twitter. Thank you, and have a great day/night whenever you're watching this.